If you watched my last video, you'll see that I recently went to the Word on the Street in Toronto, which is a book festival that happens every year in Toronto. It's the biggest book event to happen in Canada. It happens all across Canada. If you want more information, I'll link you to my blog post about it down in the description box below. But with a book festival comes more books, so today I'm going to be doing my Word on the Street book haul. When I went to Word on the Street this year, I really did try to hold myself back from buying too many books. I have so many books on my shelves already, they're stacked too deep. I just have so many books that I still have to read, so I really tried to limit myself to only second books where I've read the first book in the series, as well as books that the author were there for a signing. Now, while I didn't 100% hold to that, I am very, very proud of myself in that I only bought 8 books total in the entire time I was there. And some of that's only because HarperCollins Canada had this really great booth where they had a cheap section and all books were like between $1 and $5. And that's including hardcovers. So I picked up most of my books from that booth, the cheap booth there. But anyways, let's just get into what I bought when I was at Word on the Street. So for my first book, there's actually a little bit of a story behind it. I have loved Kenneth Oble ever since I read Silver Wing when I was in 7th grade as part of the Silver Birch reading program. For some reason, I didn't manage to meet him that year when they had a little meetup for all the kids, and every single year since then, he's come almost every single year to Word on the Street, but for some reason, I have not been able to meet him. So every year since I was 11 years old, I've been trying to get him to sign my Silver Wing and Sunwing books, and I just didn't get around to it. So this year, I made it my mission. I was definitely going to get him to sign my books. So he had a panel and for his new book called Inkling. Here it is here. So Inkling is it's a story, a middle grade story, but it's also got illustrations inside of it, which are really kind of cool. Here. It's really cute. So it's this kind of middle grade story about this family where there's the dad, the son, and the daughter. The dad is a comic book writer, and the son has to do a comic book for school, and because his dad's such an awesome illustrator, the kids assume in the project that he's going to be an awesome illustrator, but he really doesn't have any drawing skills at all. So out comes this little ink blot inkling from a drawing, and he starts drawing all the images for them. The dad who's stuck in his comic book, he doesn't know what to do next. The kid who's having trouble. And it sounded like this really cute, feel-good story about families appreciating each other and helping each other out, and a little friend, an inkblot, helping them out along the way. But things go wrong when Inkling all of a sudden disappears. So this sounded like a really cute book, and I thought after the panel, why not? I thought I'd go pick it up. So afterwards, they did do a signing, and Kenneth signed the book, and the illustrator actually also, if I can get it here, drew a little image of the cat that features in the book. So this sounds amazing. I am hoping to pick it up soon, but I have a feeling it might be left to next year, but we will see. And while I was at the signing, I did finally get Kenneth to sign Silverwing and Sunwing. Now remember, I have been trying to get these signed since I was 11, and I fell in love with this book. This is actually the family copy and not my copy, so I might have to steal these and replace them in the shelves for the family copies. But I'm so happy I got these signed. So when I was at the HarperCollins Canada booth, they had 2 sides to their booth. On the one side, they had new releases that were discounted at about 30% off each book. And on the other side, they had the cheap section with the $1 to $5 books that I mentioned earlier. I picked this up on the new side, so I got it at about 30% off. It's The Caged Queen by Kristen Ciccarelli. Now, I have read the first book in this series. This is the second book in the Iskari series. I've read the first book, The Last Namsara, and I absolutely adored it. I loved it so much. I read it earlier this year, so when I saw this out and it was only $16, I forgot to take off the tag, I was like, yep, that's mine. So this did fall in my rules, and I was really happy to have it because this is more not really the second book in the series. It's described as a companion, and we follow one of the other characters, but I just loved that world so much that I can't wait to dive back in. So even if it's not a continuation of the first story, I'm still really interested in it anyways. This next book I got from the cheap side of the HarperCollins Canada booth. It's my first $3 hardback copy, and I grabbed Spindlefire by Lexa Hillier. I've heard kind of mixed reviews about this book. Some people liked it, some people not so much. But you know what? I figured it was $3. It's a fantasy. It sounds like it's got some pretty kick-ass. It sounds like a different take on the Sleeping Beauty retelling. So I was interested, and I was like, hey, it's only $3. So, and look at this cover. It's gorgeous. How could I not, right? I got these next two books, both for $3 each as well. They're both hardcover copies. I got The Valiant and The Defiant by Leslie Livingston. Now, this technically didn't follow in with my rules because I bought the first and the second. I haven't read the first yet, but I was like, you know what? These are really, really cheap. I had been eyeing them for so long. It's about a Celtic princess, ancient Celtic princess, who gets kidnapped and brought to Rome to become a Roman gladiator. I mean, this sounds like such a badass female character, and these covers are absolutely stunning. The third book in the series comes out pretty soon from what I remember. I think it's early next year. So you know what? Now I can just binge read through both of these to get ready for the final book in the series that comes out early next year. So you know what? This for me is a win. Next I have Not If I Save You First by Ali Carter. This book was total like an impulse buy. Again, it didn't follow my rules, but you know what? I read the back and it just sounded amazing. I had heard of it. It was on my TBR list to buy in the future. It sounds a lot like, if you know All American Girl by Meg Cabot, but this one sounds like a lot more high octane, a lot more thriller, a lot like the action holds on throughout the entire book instead of at the beginning of the book like All American Girl. So this is about this girl whose dad is a Secret Service agent, and her best friend and the guy she's kind of fallen in love with is the president's son. Something happens, her father whisks her away to this remote cabin, and 6 years later, the president's son, who she was in love with, comes to visit her, and for some reason, she wants to kill him. I have a feeling it's maybe his fault why she got sent out to that cabin in the first place, but now he gets kidnapped then, and then she goes off to save him. This just sounds so funny, and it sounds like high action, and this seems like the main character seems like a really girly girl. So I've got really high expectations for this, and I think I'm actually going to try to read it this month or next month, fingers crossed. I also got Siege and Shadows by Sarah Raleigh. Now, I bought this because even though I haven't read the first book, but I own the first book, because Sarah was there to do a signing. She is such a lovely person. I loved talking to her, and her books sound so interesting. Like, I love how it's these girls who are supposed to save the world and everybody in it, and yet they're celebrities at the same time, and they have to deal with the tabloids and everything like that. And the main character becomes this great fire effigy, and she doesn't want the job at all. She likes to watch, but she didn't want to become part of it, but now she has no choice. So, and if I remember right, the third book, Legacy of Light, I think it just came out this month, or it's coming out sometime this month. I'll have to look it up. I'll put the release date somewhere down across the bottom there. But now I can just binge read all 3 all at once. And I can't wait to talk to Sarah more if I ever get the chance. We talked about anime and Cardcaptor Sakura, or Sakura, however you pronounce it. Cardcaptors is the English version, but any fans out there? But I'm really looking forward to reading these, and I don't know when I will get to them, but hopefully soon. The last book I got for this haul is The Scattering by Kimberly McCreight. This book is the sequel to The Outliers, and from what I remember reading it a while ago. I think it was last year or the year before that, but I remember really loving that book. Like, to me, it reminded me of it made me think of Teenage X-Men, which was a complete surprise for me because based on the description of the first book, I didn't think that was going to go that way at all. I thought it was going to be this thriller mystery, then all of a sudden it started turning more like sci-fi. But I think I remember the first book ending on such a big cliffhanger that I needed the second book right away, but it wasn't going to come out for a while. And I don't know why I didn't continue on with the series, but I think a reread of The Outliers is in order because I haven't reviewed it for you guys on my channel yet. So I think I'm going to reread that and jump right in to the second book. I think the third book is already out as well. I'll have to double check on that as well, but I'm really big into thrillers for fall. It's just a thing for me, so these have that thrilling aspect, and you know what? I could do with some sci-fi right now, so we'll see. So, there we are. I am so proud of myself. I only bought 8 books. I could have bought so many more. There were so many tempting things, you don't even want to believe. This is a giant festival. There were I want to say hundreds of thousands of people there this year. It was the biggest I'd ever seen it. There were hundreds of vendors and stuff like that selling books, magazines, poetry, newspaper. There was tons of panels. It's the premier event in Canada, and they have, Word on the Street has various locations. They do it in about 4 or 5 locations across Canada. So it's a great event. If you haven't been and you live in Canada, or if you're visiting in Canada, it's always at the end of September or around the end of September on a Sunday. And I really recommend you go if you haven't already. Have you guys read any of the books that I picked up in this haul? I know none of them are super new books, really. There's 1 or 2 that are newer, but they aren't new releases that they just came out a couple days ago. But you know what? I'm fine with that. So here are all the books that I got at Word on the Street this year. Oh, there they are, they're all in frame. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. And if you want to see more bookish content from me, hit that subscribe and bell button down below. I'd love to have you as part of my bookish community. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!